So at first glance, it would appear that Job accepts his bitter fate. But note, after the first round of suffering, the narrator observed that in all this Job did not sin with his lips or impute anything unsavory to God. But now he merely observes, in all this Job did not sin with his lips. Not with his lips, perhaps, but in his heart did he impute unsavory things to God. And if we were to move directly to the conclusion of the folktale in chapter 42, if we jump from this point just to the conclusion in 42, verse 7 is where the conclusion begins, we would find that Job is rewarded fully for his patience and his steadfast loyalty, and his household and his belongings are restored to him twice over. The folktale standing alone could be read as the story of an innocent man tested who accepts his fate, he retains his faith, and he's rewarded. Standing alone, the tale appears to reflect the values and the conventional piety of the wisdom literature and of the Deuteronomistic school. But the folktale doesn't stand alone. The anonymous author of Job uses this earlier legend concerning the righteous man Job as a frame for his own purposes. And the hint at the end of the prologue that Job perhaps is beginning to impute unsavory things to God points forward to this extensive poetic dialogue that's following. And here are Job's unsavory accusations against God. Here we have a most impatient and furious Job who will charge God with gross mismanagement of the world and eventually deny the existence of a moral order altogether. So reading the book of Job is a fascinating exercise because the two types of material in the book, the prose frame and the poetic dialogue in the middle, they appear to be in tension. And yet interwoven as they are now, they work together, and the one shapes our reading of the other. Our reception of the accusations of Job's friends in the poetic dialogue, our reception of those words is determined by the prose framework's assertion that Job is innocent. That's a non-negotiable narrative fact. And because of that fact of Job's righteousness, we know Job's friends are lying when they say Job must be suffering for some hidden sin. And we know that Job's self-defense, that he hasn't deserved the suffering, is correct. We're going to rehearse some of the arguments that are advanced in the central core, the poetic core of the book. And here, I think, a helpful guide through the arguments. There are lots of commentaries on the book of Job, but one commentary that I think is helpful in just sort of working through some of the arguments of the interlocutors is the analysis of Edwin Good. Although Job doesn't exactly curse God in his first speech, he does curse the day of his birth. And in a passage that alludes repeatedly to creation, Job essentially curses all that God has accomplished as creator of the cosmos. He wishes he were dead, and at this point, he doesn't even ask why this has happened to him. He only asks why he should be alive when he prefers death. And Eliphaz's reply is long and elaborate, and he seems to offer comfort. He seems to offer comfort until he injects a new element in the discussion, and that's the element of justice. Job hasn't mentioned the issue of justice at this point, but Eliphaz says, "Think now, what innocent man ever perished? Where have the upright been destroyed? As I have seen, those who plow evil and sow mischief reap them." Chapter 4, verses 7 and 8. So Eliphaz is handing Job the standard line of biblical wisdom literature as exemplified by something like the Book of Proverbs, belief in a system of divine retributive justice, right? The retribution is just. By definition, there can be no undeserved suffering. The implication is that Job has deserved this suffering, a thought that apparently hadn't occurred to Job. And the question of undeserved suffering is now going to dominate the rest of the discussion.